Yes, here we are for another episode of Real Life Game Changers. This is where we are introducing the people who have changed the game, either in their life, their industry, for other people, or all of the above. That's what we like about this. We go live, but you may be listening to this elsewhere. So whatever happens, whatever question comes up, feel free to reach out to Mark Harvey, any of the social medias of Mark Harvey, or any of the social medias of Real Life. Now you're in for a massive treat. We're talking business, we're talking property, and strangely enough, we're going to be talking tennis. And what the hell has tennis got to do with property investing or building a business or anything for that matter? So welcome, Mr. Adam Wilson from Wilson Architects. You guys are in for a massive treat, I'm telling you, because Adam's extensive knowledge and experience on property deals, working with investors. Yeah, a lot of working with investors. So like he's seen people come in from absolutely brand new scratch. He's seen people who are very experienced and seasoned investors and property developers. And he's also worked with people and seen them grow as well. So going from total beginner to then doing hundreds of units, one of them being myself, and many other people in the Real Life tribe. So thank you, Adam, for coming on and coming here to share your knowledge.
No, thanks very much, Mark. It's great to chat again. I know we've sort of spoken in the past, and yeah, really exciting to be here.
Yeah, well, what's cool is I know you came on something we were doing before, which was Real Life Money Monday. Yeah, so that was brilliant to have you on there. But now, what's cool? Oh, I've created the thing all together. Oh no, I wanted to get a little crawler on the go. I'll sort that out later. Yeah, but this is so now you're back on here because you're a game changer. Yeah, you changed the game. Well, you changed the game for yourself. So we're going to be hearing about your property projects, how you went from, just being on the kind of, what do you call it? I won't call it on the tools. It's on the desk.
No, that's it. Yeah, with a what we call the felt tip fairies, the pen pushers.
Felt tip fairies. I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, so from being on the desk or being a felt tip fairy to actually getting into the game and getting your projects going. So we want to hear all about that, but we also want to hear about all the problems that come up and what are the things that people are doing wrong. You know, people do these things wrong. They don't get things set up properly. You know, me myself, I am one for wanting to move forward very fast with things, and but I'm good at turning corners quickly. Yeah, so like when I do make a mistake, we can turn corners quickly. In our construction company, Real Life Creative Construction, that's sometimes difficult if the client is not going to do that. So that means people like us, people like you, Adam, we've got to make sure that people have everything and all the knowledge up front.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, just give people a rundown of the projects and the type of experience you've got so they can direct their questions accordingly.
Yeah, of course. So to be fair, the architect started about 4.5 years ago, and we basically grew with our investors and the developers that we work with. So we did sort of small scale HMOs, did extensions, loft conversions, and a lot of those sort of projects that are sort of right down to the minute sort of small scale detail. And then as our clients started to evolve and grow onto bigger projects and take on commercial office schemes or new build sites or student accommodation blocks and things, and we basically grew with them. So some of the projects we're working on at the moment, we're working with guys that have been going for sort of 25, 30 years. We've got one project at the minute that's an 85 bed student accommodation block, which is an old warehouse that we're turning into student accommodation with extensions. We've got another site which is 74 new build houses. We've got new build student accommodation sites again, which are just straight from ground up. So it's over time we've also got projects that are sort of office blocks that we're turning into sort of 7 or 8 nice 1-bed, 2-bed flats. So there's a real kind of mix, and what's nice from our side is that we're sort of growing along with our clients and seeing a whole range of projects.
Yeah, this is brilliant. I'm just looking on here. I can't even see anywhere where the comments are for us to do. So that's a bit strange. So let me just check that out and see if we are actually, people are. Oh, here we go. Yeah, something's happening. Yeah, so it looks like people are there. Let me just give that a see. Yeah, I mean, it looks like people are there. So hey, hit us up with a comment. Hit us up with some things. I don't know if it's there. You see, so just drop us a comment in there. Hit the share button, so we can make sure people are grasping Adam's extensive experience here. Yeah. So let's break this down, because so much value here, so many different directions we could go in. But ultimately, it's about getting started. And when people get started, what is it they need to look out for? Yeah. So I'm just going to cover the get started bit, and then it'd be good, Adam, if you could put a list together. Well, let me know in the comments, guys, if it's coming up. I can't see any comments on here for some reason. But let me know what questions you have about getting started, about planning, about floor plans, about maximizing space for your properties, and then we'll get into it. But getting started, we were just talking before. You're going to hear it here first, guys. This is one of the first places I'm letting this knowledge out. But I've decided I'm going on a 1-year journey, and it's called the 1-year Road to Wimbledon. And I decided, with no previous experience coaching, no nothing. I literally had my first coaching session 2-3 weeks ago in tennis. I am going to be this time next year. My aim this time next year is to win Wimbledon. It's to win it. Yeah. So some people might think I'm crazy, but look, first thing you got to do is get started. Yeah. So I'm going to record the whole thing. I've been recording the whole thing already.
Yeah.
How I started with nothing, with crappy materials. Tennis rackets where the strings are so bad you could probably play it like a banjo.
Yeah.
And anyway, so
When's your first tournament?
Well, I ain't even got a tournament booked in yet. So that's it. So, but I am making moves. And so the first thing is, when it comes to property investing or any business endeavor for that matter, you just got to get started. You got to do something. I've learned so much. Go subscribe to the Mark Harvey YouTube channel if you haven't already. This is where this documentary is going to be put together. We will want it televised as well, because it's going to be awesome. I'm going to win Wimbledon.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. I have no idea. I don't even know if I'm going to get it. I don't even know if I can get in. Yeah. But if I didn't start hitting it and have this idea, then it wouldn't happen. If Conor McGregor didn't say one day I'm going to be the UFC champion, if he just didn't say that to himself initially, then he never would have been. Yeah. So like this is
why tennis, Mark? Why tennis?
Tennis is the new football for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, tennis. Yeah, I tore my cruciate ligament when I was 21, and that kind of halted football. I went to playing goals, and then I've hit a tennis ball a few times, but then I had this coaching session with a guy a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, let's just hit a ball. Let's just hit it." So we started hitting it for about 3 minutes or so, and then it was like, "Yes, it's clear you have not had coaching before. You have zero technique." Yeah. Anyway, I had a couple of sessions there, but then I hurt my shoulder because of the new way he was teaching me. It was obviously not, my muscles weren't used to it. So then I couldn't have any more coaching sessions while I was out there. So now I'm back and we've done what we've needed to do for the last week or so. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to a tennis club I don't even know if the season, what do you do in the winter? I don't even know. Yeah. So this is the thing about getting started. This is the thing about property investing. So let's switch gears onto property investing now. And what would someone do if they're like me, who has zero idea about how to get to Wimbledon? Do I have to pay money? How do we even get into a tennis club? I don't even know if you can, or what you got to do. And how do we switch gears into the property investing world? So Adam, I want you to give them a list, or what do you think? What's your advice of what are the things they need to have lined up to at least know what are some of the steps before I start a project, before I start getting builders on site? Because some people rush to get the builders on site when they haven't got everything in place, and it causes major, and in fact, in some cases, I've seen extreme pressure applied just to get people on site without the things. and thinking that it's speeding the whole job up, but actually it just causes more pain, more problem, and more lost time, money, and confidence, which is the most important thing. So what are some of the things that people need to have in place, Adam?
100%. You've got to start off and make sure that you've got all of those things lined up before you start. So, first thing, you need to get your team together. So you've got to, either get together with your mortgage broker, your solicitor. You've got to find a project. So whether you use a sourcing agent or you found it yourself, you've then got to pull together that design team. The architect is kind of the key one in the middle of all that, because typically we act as the lead designer, if you like. So we'll pull together the structural engineers and acousticians and ecologists if we need it, and topo surveyors and everyone else that sort of give you all of that information so you're ready to start and you've got a plan. Because it's like you with your tennis, Mark. You can't just go out there and start winning Wimbledon. You've got to have a plan of where everything's going, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that's it. For us, that's what basically it's almost treating it as like pre-start and then actually on site. So all of the stuff pre-starting on site is so important to get right, because almost imagine starting on site is your first round at Wimbledon. So you've got to put in all the training and all the planning before that. And that's where all the design work comes in, to make sure that we've thought about as much as we can, and there's as few unforeseen problems when you physically start on site, so you have a smooth run all the way through to the final. So the team is absolutely vital, and thinking about all those different hurdles that you're going to cross right at the start. Planning is obviously a massive one, depending on what your project is, but making sure that you have permission to do what you intend to do in the first place. One of the things that we sort of do right at the start with a lot of our clients is just look at different options. So you might have a building and there might be 6 or 7 different ways that you could, reach what your goal is. If your goal is to make as much money as you can, or if your aim is to, make win the next REBA President's Medal Award for design, then whatever your end goal is, we come up with loads of different options to try and achieve that. So yeah, that's the other thing, working through and understanding what your wants and needs are as well. So I think that's probably one as well, as an investor, just being true with yourself and understanding what is it that you actually want from this project. Because I know, Mark, in the past you've had it where a lot of clients and people are in the tribe, they've got their end goals, and you've got what they want financial freedom, or they want to do a 100-bed scheme, and that's what their target is. But you've got to work out what that is in the first place before you can start.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up a good point here, which is like, because there's so many options. So if you're not got rails, and this is how we teach people, like we teach people like, okay, like first of all, you got to know what's your goal. Like why do I want to make, well, what's my outcome here? Okay, financial freedom. What is even it? What is that? Yeah, I'm coming, this weekend we've got another 2 days where we're going to be doing a hell of a program. Where we find the deals, raise the finance, hone all this strategy. But like once people have this strategy goal, then they've got to know what strategy gives them the maximum impact to hit that. When I'm then delving into that strategy, like you say, what's my end goal here? What am I building? That's what you've got to decide. Like, what's the product? I talk, my background is business. My passion is business, and people say like, what's the difference between people coming to real life training on property investing and anywhere else? It's like we actually train in business, yeah, and it just so happens that then the vehicle is property investing, So with business being the forefront, it's like, what's the product? Yeah. So I don't say room, I don't say house or anything like that. I'm like, what's the product? And then we got to build then the design based on what the product is. So like I don't need it to look like Buckingham Palace high level standard like that. I need it to be a product that's going to serve the type of customer. So like people are talking rooms and tenants, and that's fine, terminology, whatever. But I'm just, in my mind, I want to build a product that's right for the client, for the customer, for their experience. and for the longevity as well. Like if I'm building a house, 5-bed house, which we actually wonderfully rent out, which you did the plans on that one, if you remember, and we had to redo that because the planning wasn't accepted because of it's closed and stuff. Yes, or versus a 6-unit studios or double ensuite HMO style, like a type of product for a type of client. And it's these things that people have got to get nailed down. And once they get these things nailed down, and all of this, like creme de la creme, Adam, isn't it? That like before you even step foot on the construction site or turn it into a construction site, that you even know what door handles, what paint's going on, what walls, what all of that. That's the creme de la creme, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
How many people you work with do you actually get to that stage?
That's the trouble. Nowadays, it never happens like that. And this is where contracts come in, because you either have the traditional route, which is, 200 years ago, an architect would do that, and we'd have absolutely every single nail, bolt, paint finish, everything all done before.
200 years ago. Why 200
No, but well, even 70, 80 years ago, even 30 years ago. But now, as design and build has come into that, it's design and build. You do them almost hand in hand, and you end up with it's all down to how quickly people want to start on site. And the longer you can hold off often means that problems get dealt with, and there's less issues when you physically are on site. But it's always a balance between speed and quality and time, putting together the design, really.
I think the only thing that this is just the way we operate, everyone might operate different, but the only thing that we may accept as not having decided fully is that like the design aspect from the finished furnishings.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like in terms of where everything is going, the doors, the type of doors, all of that. I mean, how can it even be priced properly?
100%.
If it's not done. I mean, look, we use this in our team. We use this analogy of going from playing on a pool table to a snooker table. You see, on a pool table, if you're out a little bit, it's kind of okay. Sometimes it can still ricochet in. Or at least you end up in the vicinity of where the pocket is for your next shot.
Yeah.
But on a snooker table, if you're that far out at the other end of the table, by the time you get to the other side, it's in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've just embarked going from like average. I think the most units we ever ran at one time was about 70, which was across 14 different projects all at one time. Yeah. So we're now going from that to like 140 odd units in one project. So it's like, okay, we're going from playing on a pool table to a snooker table now. So like the stuff has to be in place, because it's okay, well, it's only cost us a few quid because of the mistake, but now it's a few quid times 140.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so like it's a problem. Yeah, and by the way, that's if it was one thing, but if it's multiple things within there, like sockets, for example, then it could be that times thousands.
No, definitely. It's that's the thing, though. That's where the bigger projects, there's more risk, there's more time and effort, and there's more time up front that needs to be had to make sure you don't come across those massive problems, really. So
yeah. So give us some tips then, Adam, on how do people, like, what should people be looking at to maximize what the end product is?
Depends what the end product you want it to be, doesn't it? I could say right now, right, let's maximize the site. I think that's probably the most important thing, isn't it? Maximizing it for what you want and what your end goal is. But it depends what that is.
So what would your advice be then on like the maximizing for space? Because I'll tell you, actually, honestly, some of the earlier projects, we've squeezed some extra rooms in to help with either an extra room on a rent or an extra, uplift from the GDV.
Yeah.
But then, overall, it's kind of like, hold on, this room don't rent out because we squeezed it in.
Well, the prime example of that, we've so as part of the architect company, we also do our own developments as well, which you touched on. We've got a site on at the moment where It's in a conservation area. It was an old care home, and we put planning in originally to turn it into 33 one-bed flats. The plan was that we were going to pass it on to a social housing provider, and they were going to rent the whole building off us, and that was that. But as we went through planning, the social housing provider then suddenly didn't, there wasn't any commitment from them. We weren't sure whether it was going to happen or not. And so we quickly kind of pivoted and changed our strategy to 20. So we brought the numbers down, 20 sort of 2-bed luxury flats because of the location that we're in. So that's sort of an example of where squeezing them in isn't always the best strategy, because we knew that if we had 33 one-bed flats, if we wanted to sell them, we'd just flood the market. And who, are there 33 people who actually want a one-bed flat? Whereas if you've got a fewer amount, nicer standard, you've still got the option to either rent them out or sell them. It suddenly makes it more attractive to the market, I guess. And that's where sort of weighing up those pros and cons and saying, well, from a design perspective, how do you want to maximize your GDV?
Absolutely. This is the exact thing that we got going on with our project right now as well, although it's divided up into 2 beds, 1 beds, and then some studios as well. It's a mixture of people who might want to buy it for themselves and people who might want to buy 1 or 2 for investment. And another thing is that actually on these type of projects, get out to the housing associations, because housing associations have targets of how many they will buy each year as well to add to their portfolio and their targets as well. So what we've established is, especially when selling is the primary exit and the primary strategy, is to start selling it now. It'd be like even start selling it 6 weeks ago before we even own the project. And see who's after it, because because people right now, and by the way, now it doesn't even matter when you're listening to this anyway, but now's the time. But like right now, like where are we? We're in like August 2022. Right now is the time to build a property business, because loads of people are moving out the way because of they're scared that there's a bubble and all the rest of it. Materials are increasing, cost of materials, interest rates are creeping up, and there's kind of rumors it could even jump up. Cost of living is going up. So there's a lot of people getting scared. That's one reason. The other reason is because of all of this, people are looking to put their money and invest their money into something solid. You can't put it in crypto and be guaranteed nothing, unless you're playing the 10-year game. You're not going to be able to put it into stocks again, because that's falling, and dropping all the time. So unless you're a trader, the investment strategy is not, the one right now. But what real estate gives you is not only can you make chunks by the flip and the selling strategy, but you can make recurring monthly income as well. And this allows people to replace their income, so they only work. And by the way, when people are working because they're choosing to work, oh my goodness, does life change? Like people's perspective on life, work, and everything else just has a whole new lens that people are looking through. So like right now, with interest rates rising, still no interest you're getting on money in the bank though. Inflation, they say, is 7%, 10%, could go up to 18%. If they actually measured it properly, people would see it's probably about 40% anyway. That's scary. If you're not doing anything about it. But I'm not scared. People are saying, oh, look at £2 a litre of fuel and all of this stuff. This is because they're not actually focusing on bigger dreams and bigger goals. So these things count. Like people are saying, oh, you're not worried about, materials going up. No, I'm not, because I'm actually looking at how do I do the next 10 million, 30 million, 50 million pounds worth of property deals? How do I raise money from the bank? Is obviously always a given as long as the deal stacks up. But how do I raise private finance? How do I raise 1 million, 2 million, 5 million? How do we open the real life resorts with gyms, spas, tennis courts, training rooms, like retreats, restaurants? Like this is where it's going. How do we open 13 of them in the next 5 years in 10 different countries? So So that's why I'm not bothered about looking at whether something costs, £2, £1.50 or whatever. And this is what I advise everybody. Everybody, needs to have goals that are actually like, like the same thrill you get on a roller coaster. Like you're scared, but
Yeah,
like you're
you love
excited.
it.
Yeah, you're excited,
Yeah,
scared.
yeah. I think that's
You know,
it. Everyone's got to have that goal that you're aiming for, and like I think as well though, it's just going like you said again with your tennis is just doing it in step by step in stages, but progressively getting closer to your whatever your end goal is, and enjoying the journey as you go. It's not, it doesn't matter if you don't get to Wimbledon final, does it? But if you've been playing tennis for a year and you enjoy doing it, then happy days. You've enjoyed your life.
I'm gonna win Wimbledon, and if Wilson Architects wants to sponsor me along the way, they're welcome.
We'll say
Listen,
like in the Wilson racket.
Hey, listen, if you get in early, yeah, because if I start the sponsorship fee is going to start increasing. Yeah.
See how your first game is first.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. I might live stream it. How's that? I'm gonna live stream my entry to a tournament. I need to see if I can get into a tournament before the season finishes.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, yeah. So this whole get started. By the way, I could have easily turned down, practicing tennis today. I could have said, I've just eaten my dinner. I've got this call. I'm literally dressed in the clothes that I went out in. Like these are not even sports clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have said, by the time I go out there and come back in, that's going to take longer than actually I'm going to get on the pitch. But you know what? I'm so glad I did. This just reminds me, I'm so glad when I make that call or I find that deal or I go to that training, because when action creates opportunity, and I literally went out there and I'm so like, my mind's so much stronger. That's why I'm coming on here with so much conviction of like 1 year road to Wimbledon. Like we're doing it, like it's happening. I have no idea what it's going to be like. Yeah, but anybody watching right now, you should hit the share button. Yeah, tag as many people as you know in here. I usually say tag at least 10 people, but get tagging some people. Why? Because we're going to Wimbledon, number one. Number two, Wilson Architects is going to sponsor me. Yeah. Number three, Adam is sharing some right golden nuggets right here on what you need to be looking out for. And what it does, I tell you what your service does, Adam. It calms the left side brain down.
Yeah.
Because people don't get started because the left side is like, oh, but X, and Y is not making Z. Like
100%. It's thinking of solutions, isn't it? That's where an architect in general is so good, because the best thing I learned at uni, spending years at uni, and there's plenty of bits throughout it that are, it's all well and good, but it's not real life, is it? But the best bit is having that problem solving and like proactive mentality that there's a problem, it's tough, like how do we get around it, instead of thinking, well, we can't do this, it's how do we get around it. And that's a mentality thing, isn't it? And most architects have that. So use us to your best advantage.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also what it comes down to, we're not just talking architect drawings for floor plans, we're actually talking like planning as well. Like planning, the planning process within building control regulations, councils, all of this stuff. So just share some wisdom around that and why that's so important.
Planning is where you can probably make your most money, to be honest. I'm sure, have you done some sites before where you've bought a site, got planning on it, and then sold it on? And what have you done?
I don't sell it. I just do it myself.
Just do it yourself. But that's it. It's when you're turning an old derelict building into a bunch of flats or 10 different rooms or whatever it is, that's where the value is, because you've turned nothing from nothing into something. And the planning process is just looking for those opportunities, making sure that it ties in with what the council are looking for, making sure that from a community perspective as well, you're actually improving where you're investing. You're not there to try and exploit an area to try and squeeze as many tenants into a house. You're there to try and make a place better, which has a long-term effect. And it's not just all about making money, is it? So
Absolutely not. I mean, if you're just making it for the money, trust me, when like sometimes it get a little bit tough or something unknown comes into it,
yeah,
people run the other way. But also, what's so useful and for me is a must, absolute must,
mm,
when making sure that the plans are all there before we even start anything,
yeah,
and is because, like, if I don't have that information, yeah, how do I know what I'm doing? That's number one.
yeah,
But like you say, have I, got bought somewhere, got planning, and then sold it? No, but I have bought it from someone who has done that. And I
yeah,
tell you what, you just said it's so valuable. And the reason I think it's so valuable is because so many people will not go into the unknown. The person who is prepared to look at it and say, well, I could turn it into this. I'm going to spend, 1,500 quid, 1,800 quid if it's a small project, to get the planning, then can have an uplift of 20, 30, 50K, 100K, just depending on what the situation is,
yeah,
because they were willing to just look into the unknown. Everyone else, they were not willing to look into the unknown. Well, then fine, you pay that 50K extra
yeah,
now
yeah.
because someone
You know,
did the unknown work
yeah,
first.
yeah,
That's the thing. Yeah, because but that's why if I do it myself, if I go through looking through the unknown, I just carry on and do the project myself.
yeah. No, 100%. The planning side is where the risk is ultimately. Not to say that once you've got through planning there isn't risk, but the planning's, it's it either starts the project or it doesn't, and that's the bit where you've got to make sure you really thoroughly think all things through.
And here's the thing, I just want to put this statistic on the table. With you, we have a 100% record of deals being done and like planning, being approved and is continuing to follow through and do the job. Even and by the way, I've got a 100% record anyway with all architects that I've worked with. So yes, architects, you've got to find great ones like Adam, but also you can't just put the responsibility onto the architect and say, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Ultimately, it's my responsibility. I'm the owner, yeah, of
Mm,
the job. I'm the owner. I've got to take ownership and responsibility,
yeah,
because what it comes down to the quality of my questions. I mean, you for sure, 1000% know more about all of that detail than me. Gladly, I ain't interested in it.
yeah,
But it's up to me to ask questions so I understand enough to say, well, what can we do? What can we get away? What is the best thing to do based on your opinion? And it's my job to then translate your information into, yeah, does that work? That's why getting the right coaching, the right training, the right mentoring is absolutely key, because I love professionals. Like I've made millions from working for professionals, and they've made a lot of money as well. But ultimately, if you solely just want to rely on what a professional says, most of them, they're not trigger pullers.
mm,
So I've got to take my mentorship about pulling the trigger from someone who pulls the trigger.
mm,
Where if
yeah,
my professional, whether it be my broker, my solicitor, or my architect, fortunately for people who work with you, you pull the trigger as well.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
like for other people, they don't pull the trigger. How can I take that advice? I'll take your professional advice, but I can't take your advice on pulling the trigger because you don't do it yourself.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
very true. Yeah,
it's a big oversight as well, and it causes people to not do deals. It causes people to procrastinate. It causes people to pass up on opportunity that's a great opportunity, and sometimes it causes people to do stuff that's not really, they shouldn't have done it.
yeah, yeah.
Again, because people were like, oh, on paper it looks all right, but they didn't look at it from a trigger puller point of view. They looked at it from a professional, well, I'll do the job for you, but I'll do my portion of the job for you.
That's it. That's 100%. Because the thing is, as well, there's so many different opinions in any project. It's not, you could take, you'll look at it from one perspective, but there are 10, 20 different people all looking at it with their own 2 pence worth in a project. And I guess you, as the owner, has to collate all of that and make an informed decision, which is the same as business, isn't it? You have your staff, you have your advisors, you have everyone else, you have your accountant, your solicitor, everyone all advising you. But ultimately, you're the one, it's your name above the door. So you've got to make the decision.
Yeah, and just tell you a quick one here, like how much of a problem this can become if it's not tackled early. And that is, first of all, as the project owner or the business owner, you cannot make decisions based on the people's opinions. You've got to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, which is it's a product. So you've got to take the insight that each professional gives and say, like, how does this apply to creating this product here, which needs to be a product is for a certain type of client. That's one thing. The other thing is, I remember when we first started, we had this 3-bed house, we turned into 5-bed HMO, and we literally came up with a spec from three different, well, actually, like 3 different people would come around and say, oh, you could do this, you could do that. And then in the end, we were looking at baffled, like, why is one person charging 80 grand and another guy's charging 200 grand? I mean, is he trying to rip us off? Is this guy, not going to be able to complete the job? We were totally baffled. Yeah. And through then, understanding like what's being produced here, like it's different products.
Yeah.
One's producing, a quote off his opinion. Next guy is doing it off his opinion. And all of a sudden, people are not pricing the same thing.
No.
That's what helped us figure out, if we had the plans and people are, quoting off supply, creating the same product.
Yeah.
Now we know what the score is.
No.
And again, that comes to back to how good the planning is.
Yeah.
Which entails having working drawings with measurements on it, right? Because
Yeah.
I've
I'm
seen,
not,
mate,
no.
I've seen crazy stuff. Adam, actually, I think you was involved recently. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff that I thought like my kids have drew.
Mm.
Yeah, I've seen people superimposing new plans over old plans, and it's like almost the Chinese whisper effect, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Like how can you do that?
It's
And
so hard. Yeah.
and
That's
it's people trying to save a few bob. That's what it
yeah.
is.
Yeah. But I suppose that's where you kind of again knowing what your product is and knowing what your customer is. If you need to get the essential information down, and this is where saying, right, well, I've got a time limit because I need to get on site for X date, and how much information can I put together in that time, and what's a priority? And like you say, it might be, picking the door handles or picking the paint finishes. They can come later on, but as long as you've said, well, okay, we want one feature wall, or we want black door handles, or the important things, that then at least gives a builder the guidelines, I guess, to say, well, they're not between, one's 80k and one's 200k. You suddenly got some that have made certain assumptions, but they're between 80 and 100k, and everything's a lot more sort of refined, and that's when you can then get into the nitty gritty, and sort of pick out based on that.
Yeah, for sure. And as you keep going through the scale, team member like up the scale, doing bigger projects, bigger investments, like the principles are the same. That's what I found. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about, like, we were told when we started investing, like, don't start with a HMO. No, they didn't even say don't. They said you can't start with a HMO. That's what they said to us. So you can't. Well, funnily enough, we did about 6 to begin with. I'm talking straight off the bat in one go.
Yeah.
But they told us we couldn't even do one. Yeah. But the reason I like the HMO is because it puts you in that category of having to have a design, because you're changing the structure of a place.
Yeah.
You're ripping things down, you're rebuilding it, you're changing it. Like people who have said, oh, I've done a few flips or did a buy to let. Man, if you just painted the wall, you're not really, you're not really done it. And then they say, right, now I'm going to build my new house.
Yeah.
Yeah. From building a new house from scratch because you painted a wall and put some skirting board on somewhere.
Yeah.
That's a big step. But like the beauty of what I like about HMO, you can scale them back to do the paint on the wall or the flip or the tarting or type of thing. But you can also scale forward, like building houses, like adding outbuildings, extensions onto flip projects, going up into the roof.
Yeah.
Because we always say you got to create margin, right? And the way you create margin, and especially on like a selling strategy. So if I'm going to buy somewhere, rather than just put a house up that's there, I want to put it into a different category. So rather than just say, like it's a 3-bed house, let's make it an awesome 3-bed house. No, let's make it a 4-bed house.
Yeah.
And if it had a certain size kitchen, let's make the kitchen bigger.
Yeah.
Let's add an ensuite in. Let's put it into a different category.
Yeah.
And then this allows to go on to, well, okay, let's do a 17-bed HMO. Let's now go and do, 100 plus units. I mean, maybe that's a bit of a big jump for some people, but that is the jump I choose to make.
Yeah. And that's it.
And I'm going to win Wimbledon as well.
It's having that, like, a vital understanding of what that process is, and whether it's, like you say, whether it is a 6-bed HMO or 100 units, understanding what the process is. There's obviously so many on a 100-unit scheme. There's so many more constraints and things to think about, and hoops to jump through, but the process is still the same. And that's what, as long as you've got that fundamental understanding, you're halfway there, really.
And that's why I think a lot of people, they come to the real life property wealth training. I know you came in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, probably was.
Seems like a long time ago, right? Wow,
yeah.
A long time ago. 20, 21, 22. It's only 3 years.
Yeah.
But that's why I think a lot of people, they come to this training because it is literally the pivot in between. I mean, we'll be doing the training, we'll be finding some deals, and someone will be finding £100,000 deal, want to turn it into a buy to let or something, and exact same training, using the principles, someone finds some conversion they're going to do that's going to be worth 1.5 million. That's happened on many occasions.
And
this is just like from scratch, in this 2 day. I think when you came it was 1 day, but it's 2 days now, because we spend more time finding the deals, more time helping people, so people actually leave the program with property deals. And what's so cool, because people never believed this was possible, they leave with actually raising money, like private finance. Even the people that never thought they were going to be able to do it, there's this certain exercise that we do, and they leave, they raise money.
It's crazy.
We're going to do it again this weekend, 3rd and 4th of September. So if you're watching this live, put #live, and tag someone along, because you definitely want to get yourself along there. In fact, we'll put that link in there. But talk to us a little bit about, like, what do you feel the experience, or what gave you the confidence to go ahead and do this current project? So explain what the project is, and then tell us what gave you the confidence to do that.
What, this flat project that we've got on?
Yeah.
So to be honest, we've been, obviously, like yourselves, we've been doing property for 5-6 years alongside the architect business, and this project came up. Again, it was a big step up for us, because we've previously done sort of commercial. We did a taxi rank into a HMO. We did an office block into sort of 7 flats, but this one's sort of the next level. And for us as a developer, and the I think, like you said at the start, you've got to set yourself high targets. And for us, this was one that sort of, the opportunity arose. It was a building that we lived sort of 5 minutes away, and it was always the one that was derelict on the best street. And we walked past it every Friday night going into town, and said, flipping out, wouldn't it be amazing if we just owned that building? And it was there for years, just sat doing nothing. Vandals had broken in and all sorts. And anyway, came up on Rightmove. It had been there for a few months. No one had really seemed interested in it. And what was the opportunity? Well, there was sort of blocks of flats around it that were sort of 5 or 6 flats, but there was nothing that sort of jumped out at anyone. And so Heidi, my wife, and I, we were sat there one Friday night. We saw this come up, and that was it. All night we were there sketching out ideas, coming up with, well, how can we make this work? Because it is the building that we've wanted to do for so long. And like I say, you find a way to get it to work. So, you look at you're buying a building for £1 million. Wouldn't have £1 million lying around. It's not one of those that you just pick up and go, yeah, let's go for it. So again, you're there talking to people that can sort of help you piece things together, and you go and speak to the estate agent, you go and view it, you check that the sketches that you did that were on a scratty bit of paper still work, and you get the offer accepted, and you think, great, this is it. Well, we've got to now go through all the planning process. And thankfully, obviously, our job gives us a bit of a benefit to doing that, and we were confident that that was going to work. But the bit that you don't sort of foresee at the start is just all the other issues. So we had literally within a week of us getting the offer accepted, the building next door was set on fire. The whole building was burnt down, and that then had a knock-on effect on ours because there was a fire that was started at the back of ours as well. So we were suddenly had an offer accepted, put planning in, spent thousands on planning fees and everything else, and this building could have gone up in smoke. No one really plans or tells you about those sort of issues. So I think the hardest thing is just staying flexible with it all and just working out, how do you get through it? How do you get the finance to work? Once we had planning through, it was a case of, can we get completed by a certain date because the owner needed to do it? We started on site, and suddenly the foundations were absolutely fine, but we had issues with building control to get them signed off. We've had issues with development finance coming through on time to pay the builders to make sure that their cash flow is working okay. We've had issues with the lifts fitting in and making sure that their lead-in times sort of tie in with when we need them on site, and all of those sort of problems. That's, they're a handful of things that come up, and I could probably tell you about 100 of different ones, and we're only 3 months into the build. But I think the biggest thing is just knowing that you've got that, you're proactive, you'll figure a way out. And obviously we're thankful enough that we've got the experience with our clients' projects as well, that from an architectural perspective, we know how to advise, and as long as we advise ourselves properly, then it'll be okay. But it's tricky. It's but you've got to stretch yourself.
That's it. But look, again, from taking the action, that's what then gives you the experience, and experience is the only teacher. Yeah. This is why people progress so much when they come to real life, when they do this training. By the way, the link is in there, reallifepropertywealth.com. Like you can only like, it's good this weekend, by the way. I don't know when you're listening to this. This will go on our podcast channels as well, so you probably missed it. But those people who are watching it live, you still got opportunity to do this. Summer is over, baby. It's time for autumn and winter, and those blues are going to start coming when the nights and the days start getting darker and wetter and colder. Yeah, this stuff, what we're talking about here, building real estate portfolios, building your future, taking action, gaining experience. This is what's going to keep you warm. This is also what's going to keep your family warm. This is what keeps me buzzing every day. Every day I'm buzzing for it. There's always something new. Like literally, I have also, I say I started this project from zero for winning Wimbledon. Yeah. Also, so like some people say like, oh, it's okay for you, Mark, you got experience. I mean, obviously one day I didn't. Yeah. Oh yeah, but you know how this works and how that works. So, okay. I didn't do this because people said that to me, but as I was doing it, I realized, oh, so all those people that say they don't know, I have now gone to the Czech Republic. I don't speak the language. I don't know how the banking system works. I have 0 team members out there. I don't have no builders. I don't have no people. I just don't have anybody. There's no one. I don't know how the demand works. I don't know when I'm doing the viewings because of the language. I don't know what's going on. Are they speaking some dodgy stuff to each other or what?
Yeah.
And what I'm doing, I'm just following the principles, that we teach. This 2-day program, which is I've got to know the formula to work out the numbers. I'm producing a product for a certain clientele. So I've got to make sure when I put that product together, then the numbers stack up. Yeah. Then I'll fit their lending banking system into that deal. If not, I'll have to get international lending, which they charge me a bit more, but so what? It's another option. But again, it's having a formula, and having like at least the highest level know-how of how it's going to work, to then like when I take action, I'll get some feedback and I'll use that feedback, interpret it to create a new direction, take more action, get more feedback. And it's literally just that. The reason I pay for coaching and the reason I pay for mentoring, consistently, is because they help me understand the feedback as it comes. And the people say there's no shortcuts to success. That is BS. Yes, there is. Yeah. Get mentored. Yeah. Mentor, just very quickly, mentor is someone who's done it before. I would and been on the steps that you want to take. Coaching, by the way, is different from mentoring, because people confuse this. Coaching is where the coach unleashes the greatness in you and enables you to learn. They don't teach you, they enable you to learn for yourself and gain experience without all the mind frick and the stories you tell yourself and the emotional kind of roller coaster, garbage. They help you stay straight, they help you stay on rails by, finding more potential within you. Yeah. And the training is the steps. Yeah. And the facilitating is the guiding of the experience. So there's those 4 things. And then add a community on top of that. Boom. You're going to be flying. Training, coaching, mentoring, facility, community. Yeah. Facilitating, community. Yeah. That's the key there. So I just want to quick fire a couple of questions at you, Adam, because we're going to wrap this up. I mean, time has flew, hasn't it?
Wow. Yeah. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Time has flew by. Yeah. So for those that are missing out now, because we're finishing this, you might want to extend, your property journey and finding out how you can execute on all the things that we've been talking about by coming to Real Life Property Wealth next week, the 3rd and 4th of September. Go ahead and do that. Adam, can you remember your experience from 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was just about. I know we were down in London, I think it was.
Yeah.
But no, it was really good. Really, yeah, it was one of those that I can remember. The one thing that I remember was the the exercise where you put your arm up and someone's pushing it down, and you say, if you say in your head, I can do this, your arm's dead still. Whereas if you change your mindset and go, I can't do this, someone's there, arms pulled right down. And that was the biggest thing that I learned from it. Just all about mindset.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, you knew the information. So you knew what to do anyway. You knew how to find the deals. You know what a deal is because you were doing it for clients, right? You were being involved in, obviously you asked clients questions. So the information was like on a plate for you, because you were serving so many people. Yeah. But then doing what you know, that was the difference. Yeah. And that's what I take what you just said from there. 100%. Other people's takeaway would be, oh, I now know this strategy. I know that strategy. But as soon as you know it, now you got to be able to apply it. Yeah, and that's the difference. Most people, they'll lecture, PowerPoint presentation you to death, with lots of information. But that don't mean you're going to do anything. Because if you want to do anything, just go watch my YouTube channel. I give away everything for free.
Yeah.
Everything, any technical strategy information that you want, message me. I'll create videos on it, and I'll create them for free forever. That's my strategy anyway. But when you want to be able to apply it, you got to be able to know the sequence of the steps, the sequence of the recipe, and have the mindset and the ability to overcome the the emotional challenges that come with it.
Yeah.
To succeed. So a couple of questions here. First one is, look, you got a microphone right now. Yeah, you got it translates to every different language across the whole planet. Yeah. What's your 30-second message to the world?
Wow. Don't let any problem that you face affect you enough to keep trying. I think one thing I've learned the most recently is do not stop going for what you want. It's the most important thing that keeps you alive and keeps you, turning up every day. So do not stop trying your hardest no matter what. I think that's all I'll say.
Fantastic. There you go, for people. So that's that. So I've got one more question to ask you so we can wrap this up, because in our real life community, as you know, Adam, we have our mastermind. It is a bank holiday, by the way, so I know people are all over the place, but we still have people showing up for our weekly mastermind. This is how we support each other in our community with the questions and the help and the support that's required. So we will let people get into that shortly. I've got one more question for that. Adam, thank you so much for coming on here. It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Little golden nuggets, little tipping point ideas, pieces of advice is if people implement, oh my goodness, they will be able to, start their journey or take their journey to another level. So thank you for coming on, Adam.
No, thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah, beautiful. So last question. We have a saying in our community, and that saying is that you can never let people forget that they must do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Do you know what? Before we came on this, I was thinking I need to remember the answer to this, but it's no. Why is it? Can you repeat the question once more and I'll get it?
You got to do the right thing for the right reason. Why is that?
Oh no. Right. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so normally people give me their answer of their version, and then I will say, "Can you give us it for the record?" Yeah, which someone
it's the still potential. It's the
the
only
only way to discover your true potential. Someone's literally wrote it in the comments for you. Look.
yeah, it's the only way to discover your true potential.
Okay, so let me ask you again, so we can add it to the reel.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Because it's the only way to discover your true potential.
Yes, Adam. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we have cut it fine. But guys, that was another episode of Real Life Game Changers. Make sure you follow Mark Harvey on all of the social media channels: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And also get yourself to Real Life Property Wealth if you want to build a multi-million-pound property portfolio. So as Adam said, you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because that is the only way to discover your true potential.